Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name's Jordan, and today we're going to be doing a book review on The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. This is a book that I finished a few weeks ago. He talks about 7 principles that kind of lead to more positivity and happiness, and we are going to be going over those 7 principles, and then we're also going to be talking about the ones that resonated with me most. So this was actually a birthday gift from my girlfriend, and she listened to it as an audiobook a few times and thought I'd really enjoy it, and man, was she right. I love the self-improvement novels that kind of just give you examples and stories along the way. Shawn does a really great job at breaking down his points and sharing great examples, so I'm excited to dive into this one with you. All right, so the first principle that Shawn opens up with is actually called The Happiness Advantage. So I thought it was pretty crazy that he opened things up with the title of his book, but hey, bold move, I like it. So let's dive in. So this principle is all about the importance of happiness and the direct correlation between a productive and successful team. Pretty early on in the chapter, he quotes Richard Branson, who, if you don't know Richard Branson, you really got to do some research. He started Virgin Records, Radio, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Airlines, Virgin Mobile. This guy is one of the most famous and successful entrepreneurs in kind of modern day history, and his story is unbelievable. He's got some really great books that you should check out. So Richard Branson is quoted saying, "More than any other element, fun is the secret to Virgin's success." Within this first principle, Shawn talks about the undoing effect. Now, he uses an example with a guy named Brian. So Brian's about to have a really important meeting presentation, and right before the meeting, his boss comes up to him and says, "Are you ready for this? You better not mess this up. This is super important to the company." So automatically, Brian is now questioning every sort of preparation he's done. He's running through his lines in his head, wondering if he's gonna mess up. So this is called the undoing effect, because what his boss intended for was to ideally hype him up, and he did the exact opposite, making him question everything going into the presentation, where he is now more likely to mess things up. Come on. So through research, Shawn reveals that the best thing in that situation for Brian and his boss is to get a quick jolt of happiness. That's gonna relax you. It's gonna ease your mind. You're gonna be going into that presentation with no worries about what you are prepared for already. That could be a lot of reason why, you have big companies. It became super popular, like tech companies, to have these big cafeterias with food and ping pong tables and foosball tables. I think it all has to do with the fact of giving people a jolt of happiness, trusting your employees, and knowing that, when they do get that hit, that dopamine effect, that dopamine hit, they're gonna perform better, and the research shows that they do perform better. Principle number 2, the fulcrum and the lever. So the first thing I had to do was Google what a fulcrum is. I know what a lever is, but I was like, what the heck is a fulcrum? So a fulcrum is the point on which a lever rests or is supported and on which it pivots. So that kind of makes sense. So quote, Shawn simply puts it, "By changing the fulcrum of our mindset and lengthening our lever of possibility, we change what is possible." What does he mean? So a pretty cool example that Shawn uses about the fulcrum and the lever is a group experiment with a group of 75-year-old men. Now, these men went for a weekend trip to a resort or a cabin or something. They were not able to have any sort of newspapers, magazines dated earlier than 1959, which happened to be 20 years before the current date. The idea of this experiment was to put these 75-year-old men in the mindset that they were 20 years young. They were told to dress and act like it was 20 years ago, and they were even given name badges with pictures of themselves from 20 years ago. So they were just looking at all of their friends 20 years younger, on this weekend. So what was really interesting about this is by the end of the week, after acting like they were 20 years younger, believing, seeing, reading, etc., they were actually more flexible. Their eyesight increased by 10%. Even their physical appearance changed. People that looked at photos of them thought that they were younger, which is crazy. So just by changing their mindset, the mind is such a powerful thing. So that was kind of his metaphor and the best example that I took from the fulcrum and the lever. Principle number 3, the tetris effect. For example, the one colleague that walks into a room and just has a hard time saying something that is positive, or that one manager or boss who is always focusing on their employee that is struggling or that is having a hard time. Shawn argues that when we focus on the positive, we profit from 3 of the most important tools available to us: happiness, gratitude, and optimism. So it's much easier to notice a negative tetris effect, and to practice a positive tetris effect does just take time and practice. A suggestion that Shawn makes is to start making a daily list of positive things that happen in your job on a day-to-day notice. This will also help push out any of those annoyances that you had or negative things, and start again having your subconscious and your conscious mind thinking about the positive. All right, next, principle number 4, falling up. The 4th principle is extremely important, and I think it's a lesson that a lot of people just need reminding of in general. Shawn talks about 3 mental paths that people take after dealing with challenge or adversity. Path number 1, an event. After an event, this path just keeps you circling in the same spot, creating no change. Path number 2, after a situation of crisis or adversity, this path actually creates a further negative path towards further negative consequences. And this is a huge reason why people just are scared of dealing with challenges in general. And then path number 3, and this is the path that we should all be striving for, is a path that leads you from failure or setback to a place we are even stronger and more capable of before the initial fall. Now, Shawn says the key to following path number 3 is having the will to find it. The thing with most people when you're struggling is that you don't want to push through and you don't have the adversity to try and overcome certain situations. And just understanding that failure is so common and you actually need it to move forward. People think, and the school system does this to us, getting an F on an exam or getting a C- or whatever feels like a failure, but in real life, you do need to fail in order to learn. Those are the biggest learning lessons, and when you can overcome your failures, that is when you are truly succeeding. I feel like I could make a whole other YouTube video on just talking about entrepreneurs that have failed over and over again that then led to their success, but that is for a whole other video. So we're just going to continue on to principle number 5. And that principle number 5 is the Zoro circle. Now, Zoro is a fantastic movie, first off. If you haven't seen it, go watch The Mask of Zorro. I don't know what you've been missing out on. Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. These guys in the 90s or the 2000s, early 2000s, whenever it was, they absolutely smashed it. But the Zoro circle is a principle that actually resonated with me probably the most in my current situation in my career. Now, the metaphor of the Zoro circle is if you've seen the movie, let's pretend you've seen the movie. Now, the Zoro circle emphasizes on focusing in on small, manageable tasks. Because in the movie, Alejandro has to master his circle. He cannot go outside of his circle until he can defend himself properly. Now, he says to start with tasks that can actually be completed within 20 seconds. Now, this could be opening up your email and just deleting all the ones that are junk. Task complete. Now you can move on to your next task. Once you get comfortable, you increase the duration and the size of the task. And obviously you can see that this can be applied to anything. So go on, get out there, master your circle. You can do this. I know you can. Principle number 6, the 20-second rule. Shawn argues that human beings will take the path of least resistance. And this is a reason why when you're sitting on your couch and you want to go for a workout, but the remote is right beside you on the chair, it's really easy to flick that thing on. And next thing you know, you're not going to the gym anymore. You're actually watching TV because your remote was right beside you and your running shoes were way in the corner around in a closet. So he says to start placing items or tools that are moving towards your good habits closer to you, to in a space where you're more likely to reach them. For example, if you have a guitar and you really want to start playing guitar, take it out of the case and put it right beside your favorite chair. You're probably going to pick that guitar up more. This is actually an example that I am currently doing, and it's working. If you don't want to use your phone in the morning, set an alarm a different way. Put your phone somewhere else, maybe on your office desk plugged in, away in a room or two away from you, and it's going to be a lot harder to use your phone right away in the morning. And you're gonna get a lot less screen time. So I think you get the point, but making the barriers to entry easier for the good habits you wanna form, and then making the barriers to entry harder on the bad habits that you wanna lose. And last but not least, principle number 7, social investment. So Shawn argues that your social network is one of your greatest tools when you're trying new things, starting out a new career. Having support from your family, your friends, etc. is going to be something that makes you feel really good right away and allows you to push yourself forward knowing that you're on the right path. So strengthening your networks, making real true networks, and hey, if it's not your parents, if it's not your family, that's okay. Trying to build out a social network of people that inspire you. And that could even nowadays, that could just be on Instagram and TikTok, filling your social media feeds with content that inspires you versus content that just entertains you and kind of makes you distracted, I think is a really great way to increase your social investment. So there you have it, the 7 principles that can lead you and your team to positivity and happiness. Overall, I thought this was a really great read. It has a lot of practical information that you can just go out there and start using, which I really appreciate. It made me reflect on my current situation and provided practical advice to help me become a better leader and partner and friend. So if I had to give this book a rating, I'd be giving it a 4 out of 5. Now, a 5 out of 5, I haven't come across that quite yet. I'm still trying to figure out what a 5 out of 5 is. So this was a really great book. I think a 4 out of 5 is a really great rating. And I think if you read this, you are definitely going to be taking something out of it, whether you are a business leader in management or just personally and you want to try and improve some habits. This is a really great book. All right, thanks for taking the time to watch. I hope you took something from this. If you did, hit that sub button on your way out, and we will see you next time.